almost what jumps out at you, because he's recording these women and girls while he's speaking to them,
Right.
thinking no one will ever see this footage.
If the biggest verdict in the Epstein case still hasn't reached its final chapter, what if that's true? From 2019 until now, more than 1,000 pages of court documents have been released. Flight logs, testimony, names. Not verdicts, but names. And history shows an uncomfortable truth: in high-level criminal networks, the mastermind rarely acts alone. Now 50 Cent steps into the spotlight, hinting that the untouchables in Hollywood may no longer be untouchable. Think carefully. Epstein is dead. Maxwell is serving 20 years. But what about the circle around them? Power, influence, still operating. The real question is not who flew, it is who knew, and who will be next. Because when documents are reopened and alliances begin to fracture, reputations do not just collapse, they explode. Are we witnessing exposure, or the silence before a legal earthquake? The scandal that shook America. Before we talk about any names, we need to return to the starting point. Because if we do not properly understand what the Epstein files actually are, every discussion afterward easily slides into emotion. Jeffrey Epstein was arrested in July 2019 on charges of sex trafficking minors. Just weeks later, he was found dead in his jail cell at a federal facility in New York. That death immediately sparked a wave of suspicion worldwide. Not long after, Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's closest associate, was arrested, tried, and ultimately convicted on multiple charges related to recruiting and abusing victims. The case officially concluded with Maxwell's sentence, but the story did not end there. The Epstein files, a phrase that sounds like a classified dossier, are in reality a collection of different types of documents released throughout various legal proceedings. These include flight logs, meaning the passenger records of private aircraft, email correspondence, court documents, and victim testimony. These materials document Epstein's wide network of relationships, from business leaders and politicians to celebrities in the entertainment industry. But here is the key point many people deliberately ignore. Appearing in documents does not equal committing a crime. A name in a flight log only shows that someone boarded a plane. An email shows there was contact. A photograph at a party only proves they shared the same space. In elite circles, where parties, fundraisers, and networking are routine social interaction, does not automatically translate into complicity. The issue with the Epstein files is not that they immediately convict anyone. The issue is that they paint a picture of power, where handshakes, flights, and lavish parties become details that lead the public to ask questions. And within that fragile boundary, public opinion easily moves beyond what the documents actually state. 2. Naomi Campbell. Flight logs. The name Naomi Campbell appears in Jeffrey Epstein's flight logs, and that fact alone was enough to make the internet erupt. A supermodel icon of the 90s, a face once at the center of the world's biggest runways, now pulled into one of the darkest scandals among the elite. But we need to pause here. What does appearing in flight logs mean? It means her name was recorded in flight documentation. It does not automatically mean participation in criminal activity. Naomi has acknowledged that she met Epstein. She does not deny knowing him. She has said she was introduced to him at a birthday party by a former boyfriend. She also clearly stated that when she learned about Epstein's criminal conduct, she was horrified and condemned what he had done. In interviews, she emphasized that those actions were indefensible. She affirmed that she stands with the victims. This is her public statement, and to date, there are no legal documents charging Naomi Campbell in connection with Epstein's crimes. But the internet did not stop there. Viral posts began discussing email shipping records. Some claimed she was involved in arranging shipments of documents or items for Epstein's gatherings. Certain online videos even accused her of recruiting models, implying she introduced young models to events attended by Epstein. These statements spread at lightning speed. But the critical issue is this: they have not been confirmed by a criminal indictment or a public court ruling. They exist at the level of speculation based on interpretations of leaked materials and secondhand accounts. This is where a clear distinction must be made. There is no criminal indictment against Naomi Campbell related to Epstein. There is no court conclusion declaring her guilty. In the legal system, that is what matters most. However, in the court of social media, the standards are different. Public perception does not operate under the presumption of innocence. A name on a list can instantly become a moral verdict. A reputation built over decades can be shaken within hours. Flying on a plane does not automatically make someone an accomplice, but imagery and symbolism carry their own power. When the public sees a powerful supermodel appear in records linked to a convicted sex offender, they do not analyze legal clauses. They react emotionally. And in the digital era, emotion travels faster than evidence. The question is not only what Naomi Campbell did. The larger question is, what standard are we applying to judge the standard of law or the standard of the crowd? And when the line between those two becomes blurred, is anyone truly being judged fairly? Bill Gates, dinner, divorce and damage control. When Jeffrey Epstein's name is mentioned, Bill Gates's name always triggers a different kind of reaction. Not because he is an entertainer, not because he is a controversial show business figure, but because he represents a far higher level of power. A man who once topped the list of the richest individuals in the world. A symbol of technology philanthropy and global influence. And when that symbol is placed next to a convicted sex offender, the collision of images creates stronger aftershocks than any party photograph. In terms of confirmed facts, Bill Gates has acknowledged that he met Jeffrey Epstein multiple times. He said they had dinners and discussions related to philanthropy. This is not rumor. This is something he confirmed himself in televised interviews. He also said maintaining that relationship was a mistake. At the same time, Melinda Gates, his former wife, publicly acknowledged that she was unhappy about her husband meeting Epstein. She said she felt uneasy and disliked it. In one interview, she described Epstein as abhorrent and evil personified. Those statements are not social media speculation. They are direct words from someone involved. However, one crucial point must be made clear. As of now, there are no criminal charges against Bill Gates related to Epstein's illegal conduct. No indictment, no court finding, no sentence. In the legal system, that line is what separates suspicion from crime. So why does suspicion continue to cling to him? Part of it comes from widely circulated rumors about an email involving personal health matters. That story has been broadly shared on social media, but there is no independently verified confirmation from public court records. When a rumor attaches itself to the name Bill Gates, it automatically gains traction. But traction does not equal authenticity. There are three factors that make suspicion around Gates stronger than others. First is power. When you control tens of billions of dollars and hold global influence, the public instinctively believes you are capable of hiding something. Second is timing. Melinda's departure after many years of marriage led many people to link the two events even without direct evidence of a legal connection. Third is how he answered interview questions. Some observers felt his responses about Epstein sounded evasive, lacking firmness, and that perception fueled further doubt. But perception is not evidence. Power is not guilt. And a divorce, however high profile, does not automatically become an indictment. What remains is a larger question. In an era where reputations can be shaped by a few clips and tweets, are we evaluating based on legal documentation or based on impressions? When a powerful person makes a mistake in social association, does that equal complicity? Or are we blending two separate standards, legal and moral, into one? Beyoncé, ritual theory and conspiracy. Culture. Beyoncé is not just a singer. She is an icon, a global brand, a cultural force. And when an icon that large appears in conversations about Epstein, everything instantly becomes chaotic. Not because there are any legal documents charging her, but because the internet has always had a special attraction to stories that connect power and darkness. In interviews and stand-up comedy performances, Cat Williams and a few other comedians have made shocking statements. They used the phrase pedo island. They hinted at dark rituals. They spoke about ritual sacrifice as something implicitly understood among the elite. Those remarks spread faster than any investigative report. When a comedian says something half serious, half joking, audiences tend to hold on to the most shocking part and ignore the context. But one thing must be made clear before continuing. There is no Beyoncé name in publicly released flight logs related to Epstein. There are no criminal charges against her connected to Epstein's illegal conduct, no indictment, no court finding, no sentence. What exists are stage remarks, edited clips, and social media speculation. So why does conspiracy culture target Beyoncé so intensely? The answer is not in the documents, but in psychology. Beyoncé is a rare cultural power symbol. She does not just sell music, she shapes trends, she builds empires, she tightly controls her image. To many people, she seems untouchable, and that very untouchability triggers suspicion. The internet has long fueled conspiracy theories about the Illuminati, about hand symbols, about triangles, about light and darkness in stage performances. Beyoncé and Jay-Z have repeatedly been associated with those symbols. When an artist performs with strong imagery, deliberate aesthetics, and an air of mystery, a segment of the audience will interpret it through a mystical lens. Mystery becomes evidence. Success becomes proof of a dark pact. And every time a major scandal like Epstein erupts, old stories are pulled back out, stitched together, and retold as a complete picture. Conspiracy thrives on power, secrecy, and fame. When someone possesses all three, they almost certainly become a target. Power makes people believe you are capable of hiding something. Privacy makes people believe you are hiding something. Fame makes every unproven allegation more compelling. And Beyoncé embodies all three. But appeal is not evidence. A conspiracy repeated 1 million times does not turn it into legal truth. In Beyoncé's case, there are no official documents confirming her involvement in Epstein's illegal conduct. What exists is a chain of cultural interpretation where comedians, influencers, and social media users weave assumptions together with emotion. The question is not whether Beyoncé is untouchable. The question is what standard we are using to reach conclusions. The law requires evidence, testimony, and due process. Social media only needs one viral clip and one shocking line. In an era where the boundary between satire and accusation grows blurry, are we unintentionally turning speculation into verdicts? And when a major icon is pulled into that vortex, who is truly responsible for conclusions drawn too soon? Jay-Z, the dangerous man. Sean Carter started in the Marcy Projects. No spotlights, no conglomerate, no stakes in liquor brands or streaming platforms. Just a beat a street corner and one choice rise or disappear. From early 90s rap records to becoming one of the most powerful entrepreneurs in the entertainment industry, Jay-Z did not just build a career, he built an empire. Music, fashion, investments, sports, philanthropy. A true American journey from the streets to the boardroom. And because that empire has grown almost symbolic in scale, every movement around his name is magnified many times over. When documents related to Jeffrey Epstein were gradually released through declassifications and court filings, Jay-Z's name appeared in a batch of materials in the form of a tip or intake, meaning recorded information or allegations, submitted, not investigative conclusions or indictments. This point must be made clear. A tip is not a verdict. An intake is not confirmation. In legal procedure, it is simply a line of information requiring independent verification. But on the internet, a single line can become a headline, and a headline can become a media verdict. As soon as his name entered the public space, the explosion was almost immediate. Old clips resurfaced, images from industry events were edited together, casual interview segments were dissected through so-called body language analysis. The phrase control system appeared repeatedly. Some interpreted that in moments standing beside other powerful figures, Jay-Z looked controlled. Those interpretations were not based on legal findings, but on perception. And perception repeated often enough becomes narrative. In entertainment, network is oxygen. Relationships are blood flow. No one reaches the top without passing through powerful rooms. The issue is that oxygen can also become poison if the wrong person is in the room. When a cultural entrepreneur like Jay-Z appears in the same space as individuals later convicted in other cases, the internet tends to connect the dots into a complete picture. But connecting dots does not equal proving criminal association. In the Hollywood ecosystem, artists, producers, and executives appearing at the same events is normal. Abnormal only begins when independent evidence of wrongdoing exists. And as of now, there is no criminal indictment against Jay-Z related to Epstein. Yet conspiracy theories do not require indictments to survive. The term handler is mentioned. Some claim cultural icons are controlled. This is how a segment of online communities interprets power and success in a closed environment like Hollywood. When someone becomes too large, they must belong to a larger structure. That is the logic of conspiracy culture. But that logic does not replace legal procedure. It only creates a more shareable story. The real risk here does not lie in a single tip. It lies in the ripple effect. A brand empire can be pulled into a vortex of suspicion within days. Shareholders, partners, and investors see headlines rather than read filings. Media outlets can escalate coverage if any new detail appears. In an era where image is asset, even the shadow of suspicion can cause damage. And when you are at the top, there is little room to slip. Every slip echoes loudly. Legally, everything only matters if independent evidence emerges, if investigative authorities confirm it, and if an indictment is issued. At this moment, what exists is a very large media shadow. A shadow can cover the stage, but it is not yet a verdict. Between the noise of social media and the slow pace of the legal system, that boundary must remain clear. Jay-Z built his reputation like armor. Music investments, media strategy, all layers of protection. But in Hollywood, reputation is armor. Legal records are acid. If real evidence exists, acid will dissolve every layer. If not, the armor remains, but the media scratches will last longer than people expect. And in a room where power and suspicion coexist, the final question remains open between noise and evidence. Which do we choose to believe? Pusha T, the new face. You might expect Jay-Z. You might expect billionaires, financial moguls, familiar politicians. But Pusha T, that name makes people pause. Not because he is unknown. On the contrary, Pusha T holds his own place in hip-hop culture. Once one half of Clips, once at the center of some of the fiercest beefs in music, long considered a master of street storytelling. But in public memory, he is not a face typically associated with Epstein. And because of that, when the name Pusha T appeared in document space, the shock effect hit harder. In the batch of documents related to Epstein that were released, Pusha T's name was mentioned in the same intake or tip format as Jay-Z. What does that mean? It means his name appeared in recorded information or allegations submitted. Not an indictment, not an investigative conclusion, not a ruling. In legal procedure, it is simply a data line requiring verification. But the internet does not read footnotes. The internet reads headlines, and a headline needs only one phrase named in files. From that moment, the algorithm went to work. Reaction videos appeared. Analysis podcasts multiplied. Old clips of Pusha T were resurfaced, placed beside other images, stitched into a seamless narrative, even though the pieces did not belong to the same picture. This is how social media operates. It does not wait for complete evidence. It prefers stories with clear structure, a villain role, and a twist. Why does the internet especially like this story? A rapper with a street image who has rapped about trade and networks sounds logical within a conspiracy framework. In crowd psychology, an artist who once told hustle stories can easily be attached to the idea of a fixer or facilitator. And once such a keyword is released, it spreads faster than the original data. People begin to speculate if there is an intake tip. Perhaps he played some behind-the-scenes role. But that is speculation. There are no criminal charges, no indictment, no court conclusion. Conspiracy theories around Pusha T revolve around two words: fixer and facilitator. Some posts claim he could have been a connector. These allegations circulate like inside information, but there is no independent legal confirmation. They exist in the realm of rumor, and rumor repeated enough creates the feeling of verified truth. A clear distinction must be made here. Appearing in tip format documents does not equal being charged. In the legal system, many names are recorded and later removed when no evidence exists. But in the algorithm ecosystem, once your name is attached to the keyword Epstein, it is not easily separated. You may not be shot, but you can be tagged. The real risk for Pusha T does not lie in an existing indictment, because at present, there is no indictment against him in the Epstein case. The risk lies in the algorithmic imprint. Once your name is tied to a major scandal search, and recommendation systems will continue to connect the two. A user typing Pusha T may see sensational headlines before music biography. In entertainment, brand is asset, and that asset can be dragged into the mud because of a single line in a file that has never been proven. There is a cold reality in the modern media world. Reputation is not built only by achievement, it is shaped by context. If you appear in proximity to a major story, even if your role is unconfirmed, you are pulled into its orbit. That is the gravity of scandal. It does not ask whether you are guilty. It asks whether you are associated. In Pusha T's case, what currently exists is an intake/tip line within a document batch. No criminal conclusion, no prosecuted charges. But the shadow of suspicion has been painted on the wall. And in the digital world, that shadow can outlive the original news. Some names are shot by evidence. Some names are shot by verdicts. But some names are not shot at all, they are simply tagged. And in an era where a tag can follow you for life on search engines, the question is no longer what you did. The question is, can you remove that label? Chris Tucker. There was a time when Chris Tucker was laughter. He was Smokey in Friday. The fast-talking character, sharp eyes, explosive energy, that made entire theaters lean over laughing. Smokey was not just a role. Smokey was a cultural symbol. A generation remembers Tucker through laughter before remembering any scandal. And because of that, when the name Chris Tucker appeared in documents related to Jeffrey Epstein, the public reaction was not immediate anger. It was confusion. It was the question, what is happening with Smokey? In terms of publicly released documents, Chris Tucker's name appears in the flight log of a 2002 trip. This is a passenger record from Epstein's private jet. Tucker confirmed that he was on that flight. He said it was a humanitarian trip to Africa, connected to AIDS awareness efforts. He stated that he never went to Epstein's island and was not involved in any illegal conduct. As of now, there are no criminal charges against Chris Tucker related to Epstein. But the story does not end there. What made the public uneasy was not the presence in the flight log. It was the way he explained it. In an interview, Tucker said he did not know who the plane belonged to. He said he traveled as part of a delegation that included other well-known figures. The phrase, "I did not know whose plane it was," sounds simple. But in the context of a major scandal, simplicity can create the opposite reaction. It can make listeners feel the answer is too convenient. And once trust is shaken, any explanation can be seen as evasive. This is where public psychology begins to operate. When a beloved figure suddenly stands beside a dark story, audiences tend to compare the old image with the new one. Smokey once represented innocence and carefree laughter. Epstein Island Chris Tucker is a phrase completely opposite to that memory. And when Cat Williams appeared on Club Shay Shay, he did not just mention Tucker's name. He nailed down the image with one line, "Epstein Island Chris Tucker, not Smokey." That line quickly became a meme. Memes do not require evidence. Memes require rhythm. And that rhythm attaches itself to cultural memory. When a line is repeated enough times, it creates a new version of a person in the public mind. Not Chris Tucker, the actor, but Chris Tucker, the labeled figure. Cat Williams did not present an indictment. He presented a phrase. But in the social media era, a phrase can carry more power than hundreds of pages of records. It is simple, memorable, and shareable. Conspiracy theories around Tucker began moving in two directions. One, that he went to the island. Two, that he knew everything but stayed silent. Both are public speculation. There are no public legal documents confirming he ever went to Epstein's island. There are no criminal charges proving he participated in illegal conduct. But in the logic of conspiracy, culture being on a flight is enough to trigger the next chain of assumptions. If you were near that circle, you must have known something. If you knew something and did not speak, you are hiding it. That is how the crowd connects the dots. The biggest risk for Chris Tucker is not a legal sentence, it is reputational risk. Every time the Epstein files return to headlines, his name can be mentioned again. Algorithms do not distinguish between being charged and being named. They simply record keyword associations. An actor once remembered for Friday Now faces having his name placed next to one of the biggest scandals among the elite. That does not require an indictment to cause damage. It only requires enough views. There is a paradox in this story. A flight can just be a flight. A humanitarian trip can just be a humanitarian trip. But in an era where all data is stored and endlessly redistributed, A single line in a flight log can become the center of suspicion, lasting years. Chris Tucker may not be charged, but he must live under the shadow of a repeated question. Did he know anything? Between Smokey and Epstein Island. Chris Tucker exists two opposing images. On one side is the collective memory of laughter. On the other is the label of scandal. And when those two images collide, the public is forced to decide which version they believe. In a legal courtroom, evidence decides. In the courtroom of public opinion, feeling decides. A flight can just be a flight. But in this era, it can also become a public verdict. After multiple waves of document releases related to Jeffrey Epstein, a series of famous names were pulled into the spotlight. Actors, rappers, supermodels, tech billionaires. But one thing must be made clear from the beginning. Releasing documents does not mean new indictments. Declassified files may contain flight logs, schedules, emails, complaints. But between being named and being prosecuted lies a very large legal gap. To avoid being swept up by clickbait audiences, need to distinguish three layers of truth. Layer 1 is a name appearing in documents. This may only reflect social contact, a meeting, a flight, or an event attended by many people. Layer 2 is an allegation or tip, meaning information submitted to authorities or recorded in files. This is not a conclusion. Layer 3 is what actually determines who goes to prison. Criminal evidence strong enough to lead to indictment and a court ruling. Only Layer 3 carries true legal weight. If current risk is assessed by group, clear differences appear. Beyoncé, Naomi Campbell, Chris Tucker, and Pusha T face high reputational risk. They are attached to social media narratives, but there are no criminal indictments related to Epstein. Bill Gates carries dual risk, reputational and the possibility of questioning or hearings due to his political position and global influence. Jay-Z, with the scale of his empire and deep network in entertainment, could face intense scrutiny if any new details emerge. In this story, 50 Cent is not a judge. He is not a prosecutor. He is someone who ignites public reaction. In the meme era, a line can be treated as a leak even if it is just a shove that sends the pack running. The most frightening element may not be a specific name. In your view, who is the most frightening in this case, Epstein, or the system that allowed him to exist? And if you think this is only about Hollywood, wait for the next part, because that list stretches through technology,
considering the
politics,
high
and
cost of
money.
getting hit.
We encourage viewers to approach the content with an open mind, critical thinking, and to always cross-reference with multiple sources in order to form their own perspective. Stories like this, they leave a mark. If you want to keep digging into the truth and honor the legends, make sure you hit that subscribe button. You are now locked in with the Black Vault. What's your take on this? Let me know in the comments.